Welcome, y'all. It's Wes with DIY Food Plot Pro. Thanks so much for joining us. On today's episode, we're going to talk about how we convert ag land into habitat and get paid to do it. The best of both worlds. So many of you know, if you follow the channel, I'm a big food plotter. I love planting standing corn, beans, alfalfa, brassicas, clovers, all of those things for my whitetails. But in my neck of the woods, we're somewhere between 60 to 70% agriculture, 30% cover. And of that 30%, I'm gonna say 25 to 28% is mature hardwoods. Not very beneficial to our wildlife in the forms of cover or woody browse. For us to make a real difference in a whitetail's life here in Western Kentucky, where I'm located, adding food may or may not be the only thing that we can do to really help these whitetails. A lot of times in an area like this, adding habitat, adding structure, adding cover can be what really sets our farm apart from the neighbors. And today I'm going to talk about how we can do that and how we can actually get paid to do that. Because many of us, we have fields that are being farmed. I know there's many folks who say, hey, this is a whitetail property for me. This is not about income. This is not about money. Do what's best for the whitetails. If you're in that category, that's wonderful. A lot of us are not in that category, and we need the rental income off of the agricultural land to help the land pay for itself, maybe to pay other improvements on the farm, box blinds and food plots and things like that. We need this additional income on the property. There are ways to get the best of both worlds here. That's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Wes. I run the channel DIY Food Plot Pro. I've got a Bachelor of Science in Agronomy degree. I farm for a living, and I have an 1,800 acre whitetail deer hunting outfitter in Western Kentucky, where we rely heavily on food plots to hunt the whitetails. This area has always been a really good deer area. Ever since I was very little, this property has always been a really good property. There's a lot of surrounding thickets around the property, but I've definitely noticed the productivity headed in the other direction from where it was even say 10 years ago. And as you take a quick walk in the woods, it's pretty quick and easy to tell what's going on with this property. We're at an older age hardwoods. These thickets are beginning to turn in to large timber. There was a thicket directly behind you that was a good solid sycamore thicket, probably 7-8 acres in total. Now when you walk in there, the timber's this big around. It's not being beneficial to these whitetails. And yes, a TSI, FSI is definitely called for in these woods. No question about it at all. But as many of us as landowners, as land managers, we start to realize how big of a job that is to go in and cut down 10, 15, 20 acres of timber to provide habitat. So what many of us are doing, we're planting food plots, and there's nothing wrong with that. But on this particular property, we're really good with food 9-10 months out of the year. Very rarely are we running out of food on this property 10 months out of the year. Now, there is definitely a time during this time of the year, January, February, March, right before spring green up, that the deer are going without. They're definitely hitting the woody browse harder, leaning on more of our food plots this time of the year. But for the most part, food is not the missing factor on this farm. And we're standing out in a 16 to 18 acre soybean field down in the river bottoms. I got to thinking, I'm like, you know, what this farm needs is cover. That's what this farm needs. That's what's going to set this property, make it stand out above all the rest. That's what I like to do when I'm working on clients' properties or when I'm looking at properties to improve for the outfit. I want this thing to stand out. I want it to be completely different in a good way for the deer in this neck of the woods. I want them to see this property, and I want them to see all the way around it is ag. Well, here's all your cover. Or vice versa, you got cover all the way around and you got all the food. Either which way, either which boat you're in, but this particular property, cover is a limiting factor. We have plenty of food. We want to add cover. So I started looking at some research, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this in switchgrass. I'm gonna put some pockets through here. I'm gonna let some shrubs grow up. I'm gonna do some plantings out here of different species. And I think that's really gonna be beneficial to the whitetail. So I started looking at the cost of planting 16, 18 acres of switchgrass, and I quickly was like, my goodness, you're talking about a major investment here. Not to include all the maintenance, not to include all the different plantings that I would like to plant out in there as well. And then top it off, I'm losing a significant amount of my income from the rental aspect of it. I started doing a lot of research and I found that the local NRCS office, which is your Farm Service Agency and Natural Resource Agency, they have a program set up right now that is different than the standard CRP. Many of us have heard of the CRP, and the CRP is not all in all a bad program. There's been many areas that have benefited greatly from a soil standpoint and from a hunting standpoint to adding a CRP on your property. There's a couple things that I'm not a big fan of on CRP. CRP doesn't form a lot of cover at a high level. It's more kind of scattered. You're typically talking native grasses, Indian grass, big blue stem, little blue stem in my area, and you're just talking about, you're seeing this across the field and it looks like there's a lot of cover. When you start walking out through there, it's kind of sparsely scattered, and they have maximum amount of seeds that you can put down. You can't increase that in the CRP program. So that is something that many of us have taken advantage of in the past, the CRP program. There's a new program out called the CSP program, the Conservation Stewardship Program. I think this is geared much better to deer hunters. And I'm in the preliminary talks with my local NRCS service about turning this field into a CSP program. Some of the benefits of the CSP program is you can plant differing things than what you can plant on CRP. CRP is typically, not all the time, but typically is meant for ground that's real rolly, that is highly erodible, that's going to wash away, or wind is going to blow it away. And CSP is for a wildlife standpoint. And that's what a lot of us are looking at. We're looking at plantings, areas that would benefit us and the whitetails. So this program seems to be a pretty good mix between what we're looking to do as land managers, to add a lot of good cover on this property and getting us paid as well. So that is a good thing that a lot of us can invest in. I know somebody's going to say, well, that's government funds. The funds are already allocated. If you don't take advantage of them, somebody else is going to. It's not like they're going to give that money back. We all kind of know how that works. So the funds are already allocated for these programs. The government thinks this is beneficial, which it is. This is beneficial to wildlife. If I take this 16, 18 acre field here and turn this into mainly predominantly switchgrass oriented with diversity pockets throughout, with lots of different plantings out there, that's going to benefit wildlife way more than anything that I've done in the past. That's going to really help this farm hold a lot of whitetails. In preliminary talks with the NRCS, we kind of have a opinion on what goes into this. Now, obviously, they're going to have a local biologist come out and they're going to study what plants are going to do well down in here, maybe what's lacking. But according to what my NRCS office said, we will have an opinion on this. I'm not saying that they're going to completely listen to me. For the CRP, I think you can plant a pound of Indian grass, a pound of big blue stem, and a pound of little blue stem. That's only 3 pounds per acre, where a solid switchgrass planting is going to be anywhere from 6 to 8 pounds per acre. So we're only achieving about 50% cover in that area. And I don't mind that, but the areas that I plant switchgrass in, I want cover. I don't want sparse cover. I want solid cover down here. And then I'm going to have my pockets throughout that are more for diversity of this area to give them that woody browse during the daytime that they need while they're bedding out here. But there are a lot of programs that we can look into that really benefit us and the wildlife. This is one of them that is there. There are also funds allocated for us fighting invasive trees in our woods. Mind blown. I was shocked when I learned this. I had no idea. I've been fighting these stupid things for years for free. Whoever knew that there was funds allocated to pay us to fight these trees? And maybe, I'm sure it's not a significant amount of money. Maybe it pays for our chemical. That would be beneficial to me. There are a lot of different funds available in these kind of programs that are available to landowners, land managers, food plotters trying to better your wildlife. There's also a plan where you can put your entire edge of your property into a CRP type program. So, you know, a lot of us are looking for that edge feathering. Here it is. They're going to pay you to do it. So you get the best of both worlds. We get that kind of a soft edge where a mature buck feels comfortable coming onto this edge. And let's be honest, if we've ever been up in the combine, we understand the first 6, 8, 10 rows around the edge of a field, if there's any woods up against it, aren't going to make anything anyway. You're not really losing out on income there. That's not going to make anything because of tree sap, coons, deer, squirrels, you name it, they're going to eat those crops up well before the combine ever rolls through. We're getting the benefit of adding what we need to enhance our farms, and then we're also getting paid to do that. This is something that is major in my opinion. I think this is something that we should be shouting from the rooftops so a lot of these landowners understand this. Something that I go over with my clients when I go out to their properties, if they have areas that would benefit from this. Not all areas would, but a whole bunch of them would. And when I go out to these properties and I'm consulting for these landowners, I'm telling them these things. I'm telling them things like this right here that they can do to positively impact their hunting property and not lose any money doing it. If you need extra help setting up your food plots or your farms, I've got a website set up, www.DIYFoodPlotPro. I've got a monthly, a yearly subscription. I also have a boots on the ground visit. I'll try to come out and help you set that property up to achieve the goals that you're wanting to on that property, whether that's better turkey hunting, better deer hunting, better habitat, all of the above. So if you're interested in that, go to www.DIYFoodPlotPro.com. Thank you so much. Smash that like and subscribe button.